Hello everyone, this is Earth Archives. Speaking of the many armored vehicles named after animals in Nazi Germany, the first one to appear was the Panther tank. Today, let's understand the development background and combat history. Before the show starts, please subscribe, share, and turn on the little bell. This will help us grow faster. Without further ado, the show begins. The Panther tank. If there was ever a beast of a machine that roamed the battlefields of World War II with the grace of a ballerina and the bite of a lion, this was it. The Panther, officially known as the Panzerkampfwagen V Panther, was Germany's answer to the Soviet T-34, and boy, did it roar. But the story of the Panther is not just one of raw power, it's a tale of engineering brilliance, battlefield blunders, and a race against time. The birth of a beast, development and design. The T-34 scare. In the early 1940s, the Nazis were riding high on their blitzkrieg victories, smashing through Poland, France, and others with their Panzer III and IV tanks. But then came Operation Barbarossa in 1941, and the Germans got a nasty shock, the Soviet T-34. With its sloped armor and powerful 76.2 mm gun, the T-34 was a game-changer. The Wehrmacht suddenly realized they were outgunned and out-armored. When German forces first encountered the T-34, their shells bounced off the sloped armor like pebbles off a brick wall. Stories circulated among the troops of shells that hit T-34s, only to ricochet away harmlessly. This was a tank that could take a punch and deliver one twice as hard. The German high command was stunned, and something had to be done, fast. The Panther project begins. Hitler, never one to back down from a challenge, demanded a counter. The development of what would become the Panther began in earnest in late 1941. The project was a race against time and a clash of engineering titans. Two companies, MAN and Daimler-Benz, were tasked with designing a new tank. The competition was fierce, and in the end, MAN's design won out, primarily due to its better production feasibility and Hitler's personal preference. Design features. The Panther was a marvel of engineering. It featured sloped armor that was 80 mm thick at the front, effective at deflecting shots, and a long-barreled 75 mm KWK-42L 70 gun that could punch through enemy armor like a hot knife through butter. The suspension system was advanced, providing better cross-country performance. The Panther was also relatively fast for its size, capable of reaching speeds up to 34 miles per hour, 55 kilometers per hour, on roads. The designers didn't just stop at firepower and protection, they thought about the crew as well. The Panther had a more spacious interior compared to its predecessors, which, while still cramped by today's standards, gave its crew a bit more room to breathe. This wasn't just a machine, it was a mobile fortress, designed to instill fear and command respect on the battlefield. From blueprint to battlefield, production woes. Early production challenges. Producing the Panther was no small feat. The tank was complex, requiring high precision in manufacturing. The early models, the Panther D, were plagued with mechanical issues. Engines overheated, final drives broke down, and the tank was generally a maintenance nightmare. The infamous Battle of Kursk in 1943 was the Panther's first major outing, and it was a mixed bag. Many Panthers were lost not to enemy fire but to mechanical failures. Imagine being a German tank commander at Kursk, excited to roll out in your shiny new Panther, only to have it break down miles before reaching the front lines. The frustration must have been immense. Engineers worked around the clock to address these issues, but it was clear that the Panther was a high-maintenance diva that required constant attention. Improvements and adaptations. The German engineers didn't sit idly by. They quickly iterated on the design, resulting in the Panther A and later the Panther G. These models saw improvements in reliability, armor layout, and weaponry. The Panther G, in particular, became the standard by late 1944. Featuring a better protected mantlet and more robust final drives. Production numbers and factories. Despite these improvements, production numbers were always a sore point. The Allies' strategic bombing campaigns targeted German factories relentlessly. Factories like MAN, Daimler-Benz, and MNH were responsible for churning out Panthers, but production was constantly disrupted. In 1944 alone, around 3,000 Panthers were produced, but it was never enough to meet the demand. The Panther in action, battlefield performance. Strengths and weaknesses. On the battlefield, the Panther was a formidable opponent. Its gun could knock out most Allied tanks from long distances, and its frontal armor was nearly impenetrable to most Allied anti-tank weapons. However, it wasn't all smooth sailing. The Panther's side armor was relatively weak, making it vulnerable to flanking attacks. Its high profile made it an easy target, and the complex mechanics still required careful maintenance. Notable engagements. Battle of Kursk. As mentioned, this was the Panther's debut. Despite the mechanical failures, those Panthers that did reach the battlefield proved their worth, taking out numerous Soviet tanks. The Battle of Kursk was the largest tank battle in history, and the Panther was right in the thick of it. Tales from the front lines describe the sheer terror these tanks could inflict when operational. The sight of a Panther emerging from the smoke was enough to send shivers down the spine of any Soviet tanker. Normandy. In the hedgerows of Normandy, Panthers were a common sight. They excelled in defensive roles, using their powerful guns to ambush advancing Allied tanks. The dense bocage country of Normandy was a nightmare for tank warfare, with its tight, hedge-lined fields and hidden anti-tank guns. The Panther's powerful gun and good mobility allowed it to take advantage of the terrain, setting up deadly ambushes that could stop an Allied advance in its tracks. Eastern Front. On the Eastern Front, the Panthers were a thorn in the side of the Red Army. Their long-range firepower and mobility allowed them to counter Soviet offensives effectively, though they were often outnumbered. The harsh Russian winters and muddy spring thaws presented constant challenges, but the Panther's design was robust enough to handle these conditions better than many other tanks. Legacy of the Panther. Influence on post-war tank design. The Panther's influence didn't end with Germany's defeat. Its design elements, sloped armor, powerful main guns, and emphasis on mobility, can be seen in post-war tank designs across the world. The Soviet T-54, American M48 Patton, and British Centurion all borrowed concepts from the Panther. Military historians often point out that the Panther set the standard for what a modern main battle tank should be. A symbol of Nazi engineering. The Panther remains a symbol of Nazi Germany's engineering prowess. It's often romanticized in popular culture and studied by military historians. While it was not without its flaws, the Panther represented a significant leap in tank design and battlefield strategy. Films, books, and documentaries frequently feature the Panther, sometimes highlighting its fearsome reputation, other times lamenting its mechanical shortcomings. Collectors and restorations. Today, surviving Panthers are rare and highly prized by collectors and museums. Restoration projects are ongoing, with enthusiasts dedicating countless hours to bringing these iron beasts back to life. The allure of the Panther continues to captivate those interested in the technological and historical aspects of World War II. Events like Tankfest in the UK often feature restored Panthers, drawing crowds eager to see these legendary machines in action. Personal stories and anecdotes. Tank commanders' tales. Hearing about the Panther from the engineers who built it is one thing, but hearing it from the men who fought in it brings the story to life. Tank commanders and crews have shared harrowing tales of battlefield bravery, mechanical frustrations, and the camaraderie that developed in the cramped confines of a Panther. One famous account comes from Otto Carius, one of Germany's most successful tank aces, who described the Panther as a dream to fight in when it worked but a nightmare when it didn't. Maintenance woes. Mechanics who worked on Panthers often had their own stories. They were the unsung heroes, toiling away to keep these temperamental machines running. Their stories of improvisation, innovation, and sheer determination provide a fascinating look at the human side of the Panther's history. Conclusion. The Panther tank is a story of ambition, innovation, and the brutal realities of war. It was born out of necessity, refined through adversity, and proved itself on the battlefield. While it didn't turn the tide of the war for Germany, its legacy endures as one of the most iconic and advanced tanks of its time. So, the next time you hear the rumble of a tank in a documentary or see one on display, take a moment to appreciate the engineering marvel that was the Panther, a true feline of the battlefield.